And good evening on this Monday night. Welcome to our University of Dubuque football show. Head football coach Stan Zwiefel going to join us here as we break down the latest Spartan contest and look ahead to the last game of the 2023 season, which will be coming up this Saturday. As the Spartans this past Saturday played a great ball game. It came up a little bit short in a tough overtime loss to a very good co-college team that could well be a team in the national playoffs after next week. If they win, I think they probably will be. But, Coach, tough one to break down. We'll talk about it a little bit. And anybody that was there, watched the game, knows it was a great college football game, first of all, but just a gut-wrenching loss for your team.
Yeah,
and there's no other way to sugarcoat it.
You think you got it won, and it isn't. And the interesting thing, Tim, about all those games like that is I think I told you during the week I thought we were going to play a really good game, and I thought we really had a nice plan up against them. They're really good defensively, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
They're very, very good defensively. We were able to put 350 on them, which is the second most anybody's put on them in the whole season. So there were some things. We made some big plays, but our defense played lights out, and they played with a really an intensity that if you play that way in the game of football, you're going to have a chance. We had said some things during the course of the week, what we thought we had to do to win. We laid out 7 points, and I surely won't mention all those points, but one of the things we talked about on starting Sunday, the week before the game on Saturday, that the team that plays the hardest for this 60 minutes is going to have a chance in this game because they're a team that's, as we mentioned, going to try to run the ball and play good team defense. And they did exactly what we thought they were going to do, and we were able to have really a pretty good game plan to have that, to hold them down a little bit for sure. It was a game of subtle things that changed the outcome of that contest. There were a number of things that had we been a step sooner or something hadn't happened, I think we would have been able to have a better chance of winning. But when it's all said and done, Tim, you're up 17-10 with about 6 minutes left. Then it goes into overtime. You kick a field goal, and you got them 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 8, whatever it was, Tim, something like that. And we thought they had a very fortunate play that we thought was an incomplete pass, but the officials didn't see it that way. And then the 12 men on the field thing, ooh, baby, that was something. And we really did a nice job of stopping it down there. And people could say, well, you had 12 men on the field, Coach. Well, the 12th man on the field was on the opposite side of the formation. But again, that was a mistake that we made on a personnel substitution, and we paid for it. And I thought it should never got to that point, Tim, but it did. And I will say this about Co. They are really a good football team. They've been resilient all year. You know, they've had some opportunities where they've come back and won some games, and that we thought they would be very, very physical, and it was a very, very physical game, Tim.
Yeah, there was no doubt about that. Going back to talk a little bit more about the game in detail, first quarter, Co scored on what was their longest play from scrimmage by far of the day, a 36-yard touchdown pass. But then, you put together a nice drive and unfortunately ended in a fumble right by the end zone there, gave it back to them. And, but you were able to respond after you're holding them again, get a 25-yard field goal on the board, which had to make you feel better at that point.
Yeah. Let's talk about first the fumble at the goal line. It was a first down call, play action pass, one of our naked play action passes. And you go back and you always talk to the players about ball security. In the last 15 years, sticking that ball across the end line is whatever the guys in the NFL do. Go down to major college, goes down to small college, goes down to high school. And as a coach, it's not very secure when you do that. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of a thing that this new generation, and we talk about ball security as much as any place I've ever been. And so he thinks he can get the ball across the pylon. A guy from behind he doesn't see, kicks the ball out of his hand. Is it out of bounds at the half-yard line? Is it out of bounds at the pylon? Is it out of bounds across? No way to know. But I always tell our guys, if you're going to let the officials decide the outcome of the game, you're not always going to be happy about what the officials decide. And so that really took some wind out of our sail. But I will say, we 3'd it out, got back, drove back down, kicked a field goal. Tim, I haven't kicked a lot of field goals this year. I've opted to go for it on 4th down numerous occasions. But I saw the way our defense was playing. I saw that we were going to be a close, low-scoring game. And if we could score 14 to 21 points. I thought we would win that football game, and so we opted for the field goal. And then another big play happened, Tim, just before the half.
Mm-hmm.
They drive down inside our 5-yard line. I mentioned you this earlier, and a year ago, they did the exact same thing at the end of the first half, drove inside our 5-yard line, ran a sprint out pass to the quarterback, and he held on the ball too long, and the clock ran out in halftime. Well, I'll be god danged if I didn't say to our guys in the headphones, they're going to do it again. They are going to run a play with 5 seconds left in the half, and they ain't going to get it done. Well, they ran a fade. I told you this, Tim, and I'll tell you again. I took a stopwatch on that play, on the replay, and it was 6 seconds long. And the play clock had 5 seconds, and I'll be danged to heck. I look up, and they have a 1 second left on the scoreboard. And they kick a field goal. And those 3 points loom pretty very big at the end of the game, my friend. So, I thought we had stopped them. We didn't. And I'm not blaming anybody. You're thinking you ought to understand how long that play takes. It's a shotgun snap. It's a fade to the far corner of the end zone. That's a 6-second play. And they got 1 second back, kicked the field goal, make it 10-3. So that was disappointing for me.
Yep. So you went into the locker room trailing, 10-3 at halftime. But boy, you came out, really responded defensively, stopped Co a number of times, and then back-to-back touchdowns there in the third and fourth quarter. You went long a couple of times to Cameron Bryce, and you're up 17-10 with a couple of beautiful touchdown passes.
So we go into halftime, and we're running the ball okay, but man, it's tough sledding. You know what I'm saying? It's tough sledding. And they're playing cover 2, which is having the corners roll down the perimeter and play 2 safeties over the top. And the reason they did that, Tim, we've been so successful throwing the ball off the edge this year. And I was waiting for somebody to, hey, you got to stop those guys from doing that, because if you can't, you're going to have a problem beating them. And so they rolled their corners down, and at halftime we just made a slight adjustment with a route for our wide receivers, because we'd seen something, and we threw a slant that went 60 yards or whatever it was. And then we did a little of an outside release on their cover 2, because they were jamming real hard, and we hit it in the dead zone, we call the dead zone, and we're up 17-10. And we're really playing defense still. I mean, we are really tackling very hard, a number of people to the ball. The other thing, Tim, that it was so good to see some of our D linemen who hadn't got pressures in earlier games get some pressure on the quarterback. We had 7 sacks, and we just played really, really lights out football, Tim. And so what I thought hurt us, Tim, is in the fourth quarter we went 3 and out 3 times on offense to breathe those guys some life, and they finally took advantage of it and tied it up at 17-17.
Yeah, tied it up at 17-17, and then elected the toss of the coin decided, and Co won the toss, and always teams take defense.
Yeah, that's always a bad sign, and they were playing much better defense at the end of the game than they had the entire game. And then we got the possession, and I'll be dang, we can't move it a lick. We can't move it a lick. So Liam Smith, who's been out the past 3 weeks, this is a funny story because I say this all the time. So on my right-hand side is Connor Hollow, who's been kicking for us. He hasn't missed the extra point or field goal the entire year. On the left side is Liam Smith, the guy that's missed 3 games, the last 3 games with an injury. He hasn't missed an extra point or field goal. And they both say, Coach, what are we going to do? I said, here's the deal, man. Here's the deal. I said, if we get inside the 20, Connor, you're kicking. If we're outside the 25, Liam, you're kicking. And I thought to myself, what about the 20-25? I didn't mention that. So now we only gained a half yard, so we're outside the 20. And I said to Liam, I'm going to kick you. I'm going to have you kick here. And he hadn't kicked in the game for 3 games. He really hadn't kicked much in practice. He's been on a pitch count in kicking because of his leg injury, hip injury, groin, whatever the heck it is. It's something there. And we put him in, and he kicked it. And I thought, I don't know if this is going to be enough now. I don't know, but tremendous just effort by our kids. And, I said this last week to you, no one ever makes excuses for guys getting hurt. We got our number 1 receiver out. We got our number 1 running back. We got our number 1 left guard out. Holy smoly, people. And our guys responded and played really, really hard. And I thought it might be enough, especially when we got them in 3rd and 8, but they were able to wiggle out of it and get the 12 men on the field and then score on the next play. And Tim, you know, and I were talking about this, and again, I can't. I'm not going to say that we lost the game because of officiating. I'm not going to say that. It's you should never leave it up to some kind of call by any official in the game because, like I said before, sometimes you're going to be disappointed. But on the play that they scored on, he was obviously down, not even any question about it being down. When he rolled over, the ball popped out of his arms and went forward, and their quarterback recovered in the end zone for a touchdown. And people are going nuts, and they're saying you can't advance. Only on fourth down can you not advance a fumble by the offense. But clearly down at the 1 yard line. And again, whether that ends up being they score or not, I don't know, Tim. But it reinforces what I tell our guys every goddamn Saturday. You cannot let games be decided by something out of your control. And what the officials see and what I see sometimes are distinctly different. And in the course of this game, there were a number of calls I thought weren't interpreted right, weren't enforced right, and that's just how it happened. But hats off to Cole. Hard for me to say that, Tim, on how we played. And I thought we outplayed him in almost every aspect of the game. And our kids did exactly what we asked them to do. And you come away with a loss. It's a punch in the stomach, Tim, is what it is.
Just talking about some positives that we've sort of touched on a little bit. Mentioned being able to run the ball fairly well. You only ended up with 60 net yards, but it sure seemed like a lot more than that. You had some very good runs.
We did, and we didn't have the ball that long either in the second half. We just didn't. Coach Hookstead and I talked about the game afterwards. I thought we got in a predictable rhythm in the fourth quarter. And again, that's you're hanging on 17-10. You'd like to get the run, like to take time off the clock. You want to do all those things. Your defense has played lights out, so you surely don't want to give them a short field. I'll talk another thing I thought, Tim, was a huge play in this game. Again, you know, as I've said, I haven't punted very much, and I haven't gone for field goals very much this year. So we were 4th and 4 at the 34-yard line, and we're up 17-10. And I opted to punt the ball. And the reason I opted to punt the ball, I wanted to get the ball inside the 10 and have them drive the length because I didn't think they could do that against
Your defense was playing so well.
And so we kicked the dang ball, and I thought we had a chance down at the one. It goes in the end zone. So it comes back out, and they go on that drive that ends up tying the game. And so just those little things that you'd like to have back. But I said to our staff, as I said, I'm going to punt it because the percentages are with us if we can get that ball inside the 10, especially the way we were playing.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about that drive they went on, and, you take away that drive, you held Co to 306 yards on the day. That's 178 yards under what their average was.
Absolutely.
And so just that speaks volumes. Just want to mention a few guys, and they were at the top of the tackle chart for you.
Yep.
And all seniors, Garrett Hertzfeld, Ben Ratchett, all over the field on Saturday.
God.
Those guys played lights out.
Ben really had a really superior game, pass rush and tackles for loss. And Garrett Hertzfeld, who was a first-team all-conference pick last year, and we moved him back to linebacker, he played his best game of the season. Both those guys did. But there's a lot of guys who didn't get stats who did great jobs. Our back end, with the exception of that long pass over our corner, we played outstanding in the secondary. And, boy, did we hit people. Physical coming up, pursuing the ball, get off blocks. I always tell defense before we go on the field, I said, it ain't that hard to play defense, man. Defeat the block, tackle, and things will work out. And they took that to heart, and we really did a good job with that.
Alex Ratchett, one of your young pups, he had a great game, 10 tackles. Dalton Wood, outstanding game, and those are two of the defensive backs that played well.
Alex is a transfer from St. John's. He got a red shirt up there. He played outside backer. We moved him to corner. And Tim, before he's done in this career, he's going to be one of our best defensive backs we've ever had. He got his cast off today. Just about as excited as just about excited as he is. He's played with that cast for 6 weeks. And it has affected his chance to take away balls and so forth. And we talked about this, I think, 2 weeks ago. He has sometimes open field tackles, depending on which side the kid's on, becomes a little bit more difficult with a cast over your hand.
You talked about your top receiver, one of your top receivers, Sheets being out, but Bryce Jenkins, Preston, Butts, they all had good days for you. Casey Moore, another a very efficient effort.
Tim, we've talked about this earlier. I said one of the things that's been remarkable, I thought, about our offense is we've been able to spread that ball around to a number of receivers. We have 5 receivers with over 30 catches. And that's been, I think, really helped us when we've lost some of our good players because we've been able to distribute the ball to a number of people in different areas, and I think that gives them confidence and also gives the quarterback confidence. But one thing we missed about Wade, he's kind of our guy when things are really tough. There's kind of a security blanket for Casey. I can go to him and I can do that. And he's a big physical guy. So when you played those roll down corners, you have a little bit more physicality out there. But say Cameron Bryce, he had a heck of a game. He's had a heck of a season, and he stayed healthy this year. And he's had a remarkable season, and so has Jamari Jenkins, so has Torrey Butson, and the local product, Hunter Preston's just been outstanding for us. So those guys continue to play real well. I didn't think Casey threw it as accurate in this game as he had in others, but unknown to anybody, Tim, in the third possession of the second quarter, he got, I thought, late hit low, and he's got a strained MCL, and I thought it affected his plant leg, and I thought it affected him and caused him to be a little bit more inaccurate than he normally is. He'll be all right for the game, tough kid. You know, that's our number 2, and he's played outstanding in the 8 games he's played, or 8.5 games he's played, and but it did affect him a little bit, Tim.
Yeah, he was 20 of 40, just one interception, didn't cost you any points as you overcame that, but 287 yards, a couple touchdowns. Bryce led the day receiving-wise, yards-wise, 5 catches, 133, 2 touchdowns, and the long of the 70-yard touchdown.
He's really been a big play guy for us all fall.
Yep.
Tim, he really has.
Really was. So, again, the final score, 23-20, and, a bitter pill to swallow, but it's still one more game to play.
It still tastes bad,
yeah.
Tim. It still tastes bad. Here's the thing I think that's so interesting about sport. I really do. You know, this is the best game we played all year from start to finish on all phases, and you lose that game. And then we played some games where I thought, man, we haven't played very good for the whole 4 quarters. Now, obviously the competition has something to do with those things, but I think I said this earlier, Tim, starting with the Wartburg game, we've got better every week. And this thing was so hard because I really envisioned us beating Co. And even, I don't know, everybody in the conference thought that Co would really take it to us just because of the matchup statistically. I knew they wouldn't. We're too good of a football team for that. And us and Co has been, it really has been a rivalry game, Tim. Us and Co and over the years has just been a really, really strong rivalry game.
And that continues with a very exciting ball game that didn't go the Spartans' way this time, but has other times for sure. Dubuque 4-5 now, 4-3 in American Rivers Conference play. And Coach, now you look to close out the season as you head to Decorah to take on the Lutheran Norse, and no secret they've been struggling this year. 0-9, 0-7, still looking for their first win after a loss to a non-conference team last week. Lion from Arkansas.
Yeah. Lions traveled to New York and to Decorah, Iowa, and they've had an unbelievable road trip. I think they have 4 games over 1,500 miles. I mean,
oh my goodness!
No kidding. That's like a Power 5 team. Here's what's happened with Loris. I think with Luther in many ways. I think number one, their starting quarterback who started last year, quit in game 5 or 6. I'm not sure of all the things entailed with that, and I wouldn't want to know, but I think there's been some real difficult scores for them, and they've been beaten down a lot. They're starting a lot of young kids. I've told you over the last 4 weeks, all we've been playing is 5th-year seniors, and this is probably going to be the first team that I think is going through whatever that transition period is when you take over. And I remember those days, and they're tough. They're hard, and the hardest thing is keeping your players' morale up and doing those kind of things. They're a very young football team. They play very, very hard. They have not had much success on either side of the ball so far, Tim. I think they might be last in defense in the league and last in offense.
I think I looked at the stats, maybe conference stats, in overall stats, second to last in both. Yep.
Yeah, and so they've been struggling. Their coach, Troche, is a real positive guy. I've talked to him a number of times. I think he's doing a real good job. It might not show up on the scoreboard. I always say to our guys, picture yourself 0-9. You got your last home game. It's senior. This is a chance that you might not think about the other 9 games when you're done if you're able to play a good game and get a win. On paper, we're better. We're favored. All those kind of things, but you don't play it on paper. And it doesn't matter what your favorite. I think the most important thing is that we try to continue to build on how well we played last Saturday and play that well on this Saturday. If we do, things will take care of themselves for sure. I always dislike going to Luther. It's always so dang cold up there, and that wind rolls down through that. Welcome to the valley, I think they have that saying up there. I don't like going up there, but looks like the weather's going to be all right, and hopefully,
50 degrees when
yeah,
it looked last.
and
Yeah.
no precipitation, and hopefully we'll go up there and play a very good football game. I do know this. One of the important things, I'll talk to the team. We have our first practice tomorrow. Monday's our day off. One of the things I'll talk to the team is you need to get off to a good start. You need to understand how they're going to feel about this game. You need to understand, just like anything else, this is a chance for them to get a win. It's their last chance to get a win. And sometimes that's a very strong motivating force for a team.
And then you have to have a little bit of concern of just being able to flush this past Saturday.
Tim, I told the staff I'm really interested how we'll practice tomorrow. No matter what anybody says, there's a hangover from losing a game like that. And, I really changed our routine, Tim, this week. Normally on Sunday we get together at 2 o'clock and watch game tape from 2 to 4, and then they lift at night. And I called all the players on Sunday morning, said we're going to take Sunday afternoon off. We're not going to watch that tape. You're going to clean yourself mentally of what's taken place. And so hopefully that'll be a really plus for us. And then today is our normal day off, so we should be well rested. And one of the things, I'll say this to you, Tim, I don't have had a chance last week. So when we discussed as a staff about how we prep for I asked the staff, what would you have done differently? And a couple of them said, Coach, you should have done more Skelly. And I said, you're probably right. But I said, I looked how our team played fresh, energized, and not physically nicked up like we'd been in a couple of those games. I thought that was the benefit of having practices a little bit shorter and taking some time off. I think we've talked about this before. Tim, I always shorten the practices up as we move towards the end of the year, regardless if you're doing well or you're not doing well. And so I'll say two things about the game at Luther. Number one, we can be 5-3 in the league. And that is a heck of a lot better than 4-4. It would put us in fourth place by ourselves. I wish we'd be talking about going 6-2 and being tied for second, but we're not. So that's what we can control. The second thing is, I don't know, last time I had a losing season, I think it's 9 years or 8 years ago. I sure don't want to have a losing season. 5-5 isn't good enough, but it's a hell of a lot better than 4-6. And I know 5-3 is better than 4-4 too. And that would put us, I think, 9 consecutive years having a winning record in a football conference. And for our school, that's a pretty damn good accomplishment. So those are important things for us. And then the last important thing is, it's their last home game up there for their seniors, but it's the last game for our seniors, wherever you're playing it.
By my count, 19 seniors suiting up for you this
19
Saturday?
seniors suiting up Saturday, and we've had 25. We've had a number that's been nicked up and out, but that's a lot of guys, and we really like to send those guys off with a good memory of that last game. I can remember every play of 1973 of my last name at UW-Stevens Point, and we won 10-7. And I can remember every single play from that game. And I don't know if I can tell you anything else from my 4 years on. I can remember every dang play from that. And it is a significant impact on the seniors because it is the last thing you get to play in. And I think it has an impact on them.
Yeah, we talked about this before, I think, on the show, that football is way different. You can't just get a pickup basketball game. Can't get a pickup football game. You can get a pickup basketball game, softball, whatever. But, once your football career is done,
it's done.
For most everybody, that's it.
Yeah, I also talk about this, So we'll have had, when we play this game on Saturday, we'll have had 64 practices for 10 games. Tell me what other sport does that.
Yeah.
Where you have 6.5 practices for getting to play one game. Are you kidding me? Baseball has more games than they have practice. Basketball, once the season starts, it's the same thing. So football is unique in that fashion because you just don't get that many opportunities to do it. You just don't.
Let's talk just a little bit more about Luther as far as a scouting report, what you're going to be looking for this Saturday. Offensive side of the ball first for the Norse.
They're really multiple. They're now running 2 freshman quarterbacks through. I don't know if they've decided who their starter is, Tim. One game, one guy starts, but the guy will play almost equal amount. They have a nice little running back, but they've had a hard time getting their running game going. They're very young in their offensive line. We believe they'll try to formation into some things that they can do and out-scheme us more than out-personnel us. And so we'll be playing a pretty base package, one that we introduced the first 3 days of fall camp that our guys have the most familiarity with, because I think that'll allow us the best chance. They have not shown the ability, Tim, to drive the ball. You know, they're not going to stay in the field 10, 12 plays. Mm-hmm. They just haven't had that kind of consistency for their scheme or their personnel. So that's important. And then on defense, it'll be a defense that we haven't seen all year. They play a 3-3 stack, but they play with 5 defensive backs, and they almost line up like it looks like prevent, Tim. And so we've been, examining it. It isn't prevent, but they give the impression, and they're going to really try to move their second and third level down to help with run support. And they've had a difficult time stopping the run, Tim. They just really have. They're a little bit undersized up front. Play really, really, really hard. And he's got them playing hard, but they're going to have to, grow in the weight room, and they've got young guys playing, and it's the youngest defense we'll go against this year. And I think that's evident in some of their numbers, Tim. And then it's probably the most undersized front three and that we've gone against. So there are some matchup problems they'll have, and I think, like I said, how they'll try to fix that is bring some pressure from the third and second level with blitzes and try to confuse you a little bit, because when you watch the coverage, it's not anything we've seen the past 9 games. It's not even close.
University of Dubuque and Luther College playing this Saturday to close out the season, and that is a noon kickoff. They're at Carlson Stadium in Decorah, and you'll be able to watch the link here at udspartans.com. I know they'll have a link for that stream feed that you'll be able to watch the ball game. Coach, anything else before we let you go here this evening?
I always think that as you get towards the end of the year, it's pretty bittersweet. It's this has been a disappointing year, Tim, and I would be a liar if I didn't tell you it's been a really tough season on me. It's been really, really tough, starting with the Wittenberg game when you lose by a point. Very, very difficult. And then yesterday's game was, I'll be thinking of that when Christmas comes on. Christmas Day opening presents, I'll be thinking about that dang game. I know I will be. And so one of the things you always try as a football coach, you hope that adversity helps those kids out later on. It has we all get disappointments in life. Some are bigger than others. And when you look at the grand scheme of things, losing a football game isn't a big deal. But when you put the time and effort in that our players do, our coaches do, it feels empty. It feels like, what did I do wrong, or what did we do wrong? How could we fix that? Now, we play a good game on Saturday. That'll help ease that pain. I don't think it will. I really thought we would have a much better year than we've had, and that's on me, nobody else, but it's on the head coach. So I'm hoping our guys will respond and see that part of it and really play as well as they can, because if they do it, it usually takes care of itself.
Coach, I think we're scheduled to talk to you one more time next Monday night, so we'll let you put a lid on the season. Hopefully there's some good stuff to talk about from
I sure hope so, Tim.
Saturday. And, we'll recap the season, talk maybe a little bit about some of your seniors as well. And
we'll be getting ready for all-conference voting. Yep. And I am the chair of the All-American Committee, so can talk a little bit about that, too, and talk about some things that's taking place and all that voting.
All right, Coach. Well, we'll talk to you next Monday, and have a good game. Again, that's a noon kickoff at Carlson Stadium in Decorah as the Dubuque Spartans try to go to get that 5th win of the season and finish, as Coach said, with 5 wins in American Rivers Conference play as well. A noon kickoff there on Saturday. So that's going to do it for our broadcast for this evening. Thanks for tuning in here to udspartans.com. I'm Tim Larry.